Be prepared. That was the lesson of this whole thing. Since 1970, I was in LZ Uplift in Vietnam. I was first sergeant of a rifle company. And the company was in small fire zones all up and down the coast. Those squads would go back and forth, try to keep the North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong from interdicting that area and going through. The heart of the whole operation was a little place called Eagle, and it was our mortar position. The platoon leader for the mortar position was a sergeant, first class, a platoon sergeant, named Banks. He's one of the finest soldiers I ever served with. His mortar platoon, they had 4 tubes, and then with his platoon, then the South Vietnamese Army supplemented him with about 20 men. So there was about 40 and 50 people on this little mortar position at all times. A lot of people got complacent and did a lot of dumb things there, but not Banks. They worked every day. They improved that position every day. They either changed it, or they improved it, or they did something every day on that position. His soldiers just complained to me all the time. Banks is too hard on us. Banks makes us do this. Banks makes us do that, you know. And I said, okay, I'll talk to Banks. Banks said, hey, who was it? I'm going to make it harder on him. You know, he was a tough guy. He reinforced his ammo facility, and then he booby-trapped it. He built supplementary positions. He did those little things like he got some wire, and he wired his mortar sights to his tubes. You couldn't get them off unless you had a real heavy set of pliers or something. And then, beside the supplementary positions, he built a trench down even farther away from them that was a kind of an emergency thing. He did every day. I go out, every time I go out there, every week, it'd be different. He changed positions. You go out there one time and they filled in holes, and they dug more holes over here. And they said, oh, I don't know that he gave anybody a day off all the time I was going out there. This one night, it started raining, and the rain came off the South China Sea, and it was, I couldn't believe it. And I was on the radios, I was listening to the platoons. So it was about midnight, 1 o'clock or something. Banks called me, and he said, I got a problem. What's the problem? He said, all my Vietnamese soldiers are gone. They just left. Later found out that the Viet Cong in that area had served as guides to bring the North Vietnamese onto that position. And it was more than a company. There's probably a couple of hundred of them overrun this position with about 40 GIs on it. Well, Banks fought for a while, and then when he saw that it was kind of useless, they moved down to this trench that they had built. So they all went down and got in this trench, and it was water up to their chests in this trench. But evidently the unit that was trying to overrun them didn't realize that they were in a trench. They thought they were still back on the mortars, so they attacked the mortars. Banks actually had fire superiority on them, and he knocked a lot of them down. And then when they got to the ammo, Banks blew his ammo shed, and I think he killed about 30 in that one big boom. He blew it all up. Then they tried to steal the mortars. He had the mortars all locked down. They couldn't pick them up. By the time they figured it took 3 men to move it, they had fire on the mortars, and it's just, they were just in a mess. He really cleaned them up. And he was calling me and telling me what he needed, and we couldn't send any aircraft because they couldn't fly. It was too rainy and too dark. So the artillery started firing right on top of the mortars. And of course, Banks' men were all out in this trench. They were and they got down, they were out of the fire. Oh, and Banks really cleaned up. Anyway, the North Vietnamese withdrew in about not even an hour, about 45 minutes. Oh, they took a lot of casualties. The only thing they got away with was, I don't know how they did it either, they got one mortar sight. They didn't get any tubes, they didn't get any workable parts. So I guess they cut the wire on the sight and took the sight. And of course we lost all our ammo, we blew it. We still couldn't get out there, so I rounded up everybody I could on the LZ, and we got rucksacks packed and ammo and everything we needed. So as soon as the rain cleared, the helicopters came, and I took a relief column out to Banks. He called me, and just before we took off, I said, what do I need to bring? And he said, bring me a flag. because they stole my flag. They did take my flag down. We had to have a bamboo pole with a flag on it. So I took the flag off my wall I had in there, and I took that out, and we put that flag up. He wanted to let them know he was still there. 2 weeks later, another First Sergeant E Company, a friend of mine, said, my guys just ran over a North Vietnamese platoon or something up here, and I think they got something that belongs to you. And I said, what's that? And he said, it's a flag, and on the white part, Banks had written who it belonged to. And so he gave it back to us, and I gave that to Banks to take home. Banks could have easily been run over, lost every man, just in a few minutes. But Banks was prepared, best prepared I'd ever seen.